I'm finally making a video about chords. If you're watching this, I'm going to assume you're already at least somewhat familiar with interval qualities. If not, I recently made a couple videos on intervals, which might be a better place to start. Despite being such a fundamental part of Western music, it's hard to get a consensus on exactly what counts as a chord. Some theorists use the term to describe any group of 2 or more notes, but others say there need to be at least 3 notes. That discussion is beyond what I want to get into here, so in this video I'm only going to be talking about triads, or 3-note chords. More specifically, 3-note chords that can be formed by stacking thirds on top of each other. If I start from C and go up to E, that's a major third. If I go up another minor third from there, I get G. When I stack these 2 thirds on top of each other, the result is a C major chord. Every major chord can be found by following the same pattern. Start with a major third, and then stack a minor third on top of that. Even though I found the chord just by stacking thirds, there's actually another interval involved too, the distance from the lowest note up to the highest note, which is a perfect fifth. The note the chord is named after is called the root. So in the C major chord, C is the root. If I want to talk about the other notes, I refer to them by how far away they are from the root. So E is the third of the chord, and G is the fifth of the chord. To turn it into a minor chord, all I have to do is lower the third by a half step. So instead of C, E, G, I'd play C, E flat, G. If I take this chord apart and look at all the intervals involved now, this time I'm starting with a minor third and then a major third, but the fifth is still perfect. Here are a few rules to help keep track of major and minor chords. First, both major and minor chords contain a perfect fifth. To form a major chord, start with a major third, and then add a minor third on top of that. To form a minor chord, start with a minor third, and then add a major third on top of that. That's really all you need to know to start identifying major and minor chords, but like many things in music theory, this might feel a bit arbitrary without a little more context. To provide that context, let me look at a C major scale. If I start from C and form a chord using only notes from the C major scale, I get C, E, and G, the same C major chord I just talked about. Since C is the first note of the scale, I could call this the 1 chord in the key of C major. The convention is to write major chords with capitalized Roman numerals, so I'm going to label that with a capital Roman numeral 1. If I slide up and start from D, but still use only white keys, this time I get D to F, which is a minor third, and then F to A, which is a major third. So this chord is a D minor chord. Since I'm starting from the second note of the scale, I'd call it the 2 chord, and since it's minor, I'd write it with lowercase Roman numeral 2. If I keep going like this, starting from E, I get a minor third, followed by a major third. So the 3 chord is minor. The 4 and 5 chords are major because they both consist of a major third followed by a minor third. And the 6 chord is minor because it starts with a minor third followed by a major third. I know I went through those pretty quickly, but hopefully you get the idea. The quicker you are at recognizing interval qualities, the easier it is to determine chord qualities as well. And since every major scale follows the same pattern of whole steps and half steps, this pattern of major chords and minor chords stays the same too. Every major key has major 1, 4, and 5 chords, and minor 2, 3, and 6 chords. That just leaves the 7 chord, which I saved for last, because it's a bit of a special case. If I start from B and go up to D, that's a minor third. But from there, D up to F is also a minor third. And the interval from B up to F is only a diminished fifth, not a perfect fifth. So this is neither a major chord nor a minor chord. This is probably a good time to talk about augmented and diminished chords. To form an augmented chord, I stack 2 major thirds on top of each other. C to E is a major third, and E to G sharp is also a major third. C to G sharp is an augmented fifth. If I put them together, these 3 notes form an augmented chord. A diminished chord is 2 minor thirds stacked on top of each other. C to E flat is a minor third, and E flat to G flat is also a minor third. C to G flat is a diminished fifth. If I put all that together, I get a diminished triad. Here's one more rule for naming triads. Major and minor chords take their quality from the third of the chord, but augmented and diminished chords take their quality from the fifth. In a major chord, the third is major, and in a minor chord, the third is minor. In an augmented chord, the fifth is augmented, and a diminished chord, the fifth is diminished. Here are the formulas for all four of these triad types. Major chords are made up of a major third plus a minor third, and minor chords are made up of a minor third plus a major third. Augmented chords are made up of two major thirds, and diminished chords are made up of two minor thirds. So, going back to the 7 chord in C major, it turns out to be a diminished chord because it's made up of a minor third with another minor third stacked on top. And that completes the pattern of major chords, minor chords, and diminished chords for every major key. Augmented chords are a bit less common since they aren't native to any major key, but they're good to know too.